The children's mother and uncle also dead. In other images we are not showing, charred bodies. One of them apparently the blackened remains of a mother cradling her 2 children. Al-Kubair is hardly more than a cluster of homes in the province of Hama. Opposition activists claim that at least 77 people were killed, nearly half the village's population. They say the slaughter was as a result of shelling by Syrian forces and a follow-up assault by Shabiha, pro-Assad Alawite gangs armed with guns and knives, many recognized as coming from the neighboring villages. The government says its forces responded to a cry for help and raided to save the population from a terrorist cell. UN monitors attempting to reach the village say they were turned back at checkpoints and even shot at along the road. These are the images from a nearby town, Kafar Zatna, also in Hama province, after activists say the town was bombarded for 4 days and then assaulted by ground forces. As government forces withdrew, the opposition claims the Syrian military torched homes. At the UN, the obvious was stated. The ceasefire is not working. Most blame aimed at the Syrian government. Outrage, but no action. Driving the point home, video from homes shot by the Arabic language network Al Arabiya. Civilians caught in the bombardments. Don't be afraid, the man holding the little girl says as he hands her off, her cries echoing as she is carried away. They just reached the doorway when a man shouts, "Look, the child," as the area is pounded again. Wounded are frantically carried through, but the shelling is relentless. Clearly seen in the video, members of the Free Syrian Army, their light weapons slung across their shoulders, no match for the incoming artillery. This dramatic video, another part of a patchwork of images and narratives emerging from Syria. The Syrian government continues to blame foreign-backed terrorist gangs for the violence. And in a new twist, Syria's ambassador to the UN told the General Assembly that these armed gangs are now using children. Today, it is the fear in the faces of children that define Syria, a Syria on the path to civil war with no apparent plan to save it.
It is an age-old argument, science versus faith. But when it comes to medical emergencies and religion that ban certain treatment, that philosophical argument can be a matter of life and death. An Argentine man lives in critical condition, fighting for his life after being shot multiple times during a violent robbery. Paolo Albarsini needs urgent blood transfusion to save his life, but his faith discourages such acts. CNN's Rafael Romo has more on that story from Argentina.
At this hospital in Buenos Aires, Argentina, a man is clinging to life after being shot 6 times during a robbery in early May. 38-year-old Pablo Albarracini still has bullets lodged in his head and hip and remains in critical condition. Doctors say he needs a blood transfusion. But Albarracini, a Jehovah's Witness, clearly states in his will signed 4 years ago that he refuses any blood transfusion for religious reasons.
He's not at risk of dying, but that may change at any moment for some complication. Thank God that hasn't happened so far. But he needs to undergo several surgeries that will need blood. So I'm worried about the future. In 3 months or later, when they have to take the bullets out of his head and hip, they must do that, and without blood, they're going to think twice about it.
His father, Jorge Albarracini, is waging a legal battle to overrule the document signed by his son. Albarracini's wife, Romina Carnevale, who's also a Jehovah's Witness, says the will should be respected regardless of the consequences. The case made it all the way up to the Argentine Supreme Court, which ruled in favor of Albarracini's wife. A judicial ruling allowing an adult to be subjected to a medical treatment against his will would not be constitutionally justifiable, the High Court said, especially if the patient's will has been signed with his full knowledge and understanding and it doesn't affect others. But some in Argentina argue that saving a human life should prevail over religious beliefs.
En el caso
If this case were analyzed by a committee using deontological theory, saving the patient's life would be above everything else. International declarations of human rights also reach the same conclusion. In this case, the Supreme Court has chosen to give priority to the principle of free will.
The controversy over religious beliefs and medicine has heated in Argentina, especially after the death of another Jehovah's Witness in late May who refused to receive a blood transfusion just like Albarracini. The patient, a 35-year-old woman, was suffering from pneumonia and died after spending 15 days at the hospital in northern Argentina. Rafael Romo, CNN, Atlanta.
We now take our second break. We'll be right back.
Under the distinguished chief patronage of His Excellency the President, Chef Professor Dr. Alhaji Yahya A.J.J. Jammeh, the GRTS Staff Association is organizing a grand fundraising live band performance show with the famous Sejo Band and the Jalex Akuntu, powered by Champion Sound System. Chief Guest of Honor is Omar Khan, Governor URR, Guest of Honor Gani Toure, Governor CRR, Chief Patron Safuru Gomez, Special Guest Seluba, and all GRTS ambassadors in URR. Special invitation to National Mobilizer Mr. Yankuba Koli, Women Mobilizer Ndaijata, and MD of Ja Oil Mr. Hamiduje. The date is this Saturday, 9 June 2012 at the Basse Community Hall commencing at 8:30 p.m. The program will be aired on GRTS Goody Summit, proudly sponsored by Elton and AfriSouth.
Over now to sports. Maria Sharapova says it is an amazing feeling to finally fulfill her dream of reaching the final at the French Open after 3 semi-finals at Roland Garros. The Russian booked her place in the decider with victory over Petra Kortivota, and it regained the world #1 spot. We have details in this report.
Easy task up against the reigning Wimbledon champion, but the Russian won through in straight sets 6-3, 6-3 to stay on course for the only Grand Slam title still to elude her. So on Monday, Sharapova will be back on the top of the rankings for the first time since 2008. Standing in her way of the French Open title, though, is the 25-year-old Italian Sara Errani. The 21st seed caused an upset at Roland Garros, beating US Open champion Sam Stosur in 3 sets to reach her first Grand Slam final. But before you think about writing Sharapova off, consider this. In March and April, Errani won more tournaments than she has in her entire career up to this point, and all the victories were on clay. She's also on a roll with back-to-back victories against players ranked in the top 10 as well.
Before we go, a reminder of our headlines. Government and African Development Bank have sealed an agreement for the financing of the multinational Trans-Gambia Bridge and cross-border improvement project. Destination promoters Belgium have been touring sites of interest as part of ongoing efforts to turn the Gambia into a year-round tourist destination. A critically injured man facing the prospect of death is resisting attempts to replenish his supply of blood. And the shelling of Syrian city of Homs and Talbisha is continuing unabated, a day after peace envoy Kofi Annan made a last-ditch appeal for an end to violence. You can also follow those stories and other GRTS programs live on our website at www.grts.gm. There you can also monitor GRTS Radio Live. That's it for this edition of the news. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.